what's up with it, YouTube? It's TK with Cuts by Kelly. In this video, I'm doing a ball fade with a 1.5 blade on top, going with the grain. So I hope you like this content. If you do, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and hit the notification bell. You can also leave a comment if you have a question about my techniques or something that I don't do. If I know the answer, I'll let you know. So right now, you saw I set my ball line at the bottom, and right now I'm going with the 1.5 blade on top with the grain. Usually that's around wavelength, and you see I'm going with the grain. So right here around the swirl, I have to go in different directions to make sure I keep it with the grain. So I comb and then I cut, so I don't go against the grain in that area. It's real important for this part right here that you just be mindful of the direction the hair grows, and then when you get closer to the center of that swirl, you're basically going to use the corner of that clipper to cut the hair down. But once you have it all even, then it's time to start fading. So that's what I'm going to do. I put on my 1/8 guard on, and I'm going with the corner of my clipper at the top so I can thin out the hair from the top to the side. And this is just going to make our blend more seamless when we start getting to our fade. So you really don't want to skimp around on this part and do little. I mean, the better you can get, the better the blend is going to be at the end. You won't have a heavy weight line. So after I do that, I knock out the weight. Now I'm setting my midway point, and then after I do this, y'all should know by now we're going to be in our fading process. But this process right here, I feel like, well, for me, it's just me setting up for the fade. I don't consider this the fading process because nothing is really faded right now. I just did a lot of debulking, and I set myself up for the fade. So here at the bottom, I'm beginning this process. I'm knocking out that heavy line with my trimmers. A way you can skip this step is just go in this direction like I'm doing right now when you're setting a ball line. Set your ball line with your clippers upside down, and it makes it easier to come out when it's time to blend. Usually I set mines like I'm actually lining them up, and that's why I have to do that step. But from there, here I go with no guard on, and my blade is closed, and I'm going close, quarter, 3/4, and open. If you have any, if that's confusing to you, I'm going to leave this link in this video, and you can check this out. I've been made this video, and I think it's just so helpful so you can understand what I mean when I'm talking about these fading steps. So click that link and you'll be, I'm sure you'll understand it. After we did the fading steps at the bottom with no guard on, here we go. We put on our 1/16 guard, and we have it closed, and we're starting from that midway point. And we're going to work our way up to right underneath where we put the 1/8 guard at the top, at the very beginning. So we're just going to fade into that section, and then once we do these steps, which is closed quarter, 3/4, then open, once we finish these steps, our fade will be complete. And from there, that's when I do my spot check. My detail work, try to check and see any spots that I see in the fade. That's what I want to catch. I always point this out. This part is important when you're doing these steps right here. For each level, you want to go back and forth like 2 or 3 times so you could get majority of the hair off. That way, when you go back to do your spot check, it's going to be minimal because you was thorough when you went back and forth in your fading steps. I hope that's understandable. Now I'm finishing the fading, and you can see, to me, it looks pretty good. And like I said, this is before I did any spot check or anything. So that's why I mentioned that the fading process is pretty foolproof if you work it right. You can get a decent blend, and then after you finish doing your blending, you can go back and check out all the spots and try to clean those up. So I really consider, like, you should try this fade method. You could do it on any texture of hair, on any fade. Now that we have that side done, gonna do the same thing on this side. I already have it prepped. So just like I did on the other side, I used the 1/8 guard at the top to knock out the weight. Then I set my midway point with all the way open, no guard. And now I'm down here and I'm blending. I'm going close, quarter, 3/4 open. Then I'm gonna put on my 1/8 guard. My 1/16 guard, and repeat that process. Another thing I want to point out is the lighting. A lot of people are trying to get the best blends, but you're hurting yourself if you just worry about your clippers and equipment that you're using. Lighting is first and foremost, like, the highest thing on the fading, and also just with haircuts in general. You can't do nothing in life really without light. So you really need to invest in your lighting. If you're in a shop where the lights aren't good, then you can get you some portable lights. Right now it's really, like, easier to find some lights, especially on Amazon, because you got so many people creating content. You get your ring light, or you can get you some LED lights and just set it up and break it down when you leave from your station. Or you can leave it there however you want to do it. But also, those lights come in handy if you do house calls. You get in some real tough situations sometimes when you go to somebody's house. So to have a good light is important, because it's going to highlight all the flaws that you make in your haircuts, and that gives you the opportunity to improve those flaws. If you don't see them, you can't improve them. So just consider that. Maybe you need to upgrade on your lights. If sometimes you might have the soft lights and you need to change that to the daylight bulbs, because they're a little more white and a little more bright. You should look into stuff like that, and it can help improve your haircut and all your services in general. So you see the blend on this side, it doesn't look too bad. Like I stated before, you just go through the same process, the fading process, and then after that you'll do your cleanup. Now what I typically do, like I always say, after I do my fade, I go and do a spot check. But I also line them up when I'm at the end of the cut. I line them up, and then I go back and catch more spots, because usually the lining brings out even more spots. So I usually fade them up, do a spot check, and if there are some spots I might still see, but I just leave them there until I do the lineup, and then I'll go back and clean up as much as I can. Now we're gonna head to the back of this fade, and the reason why I wanted to point this out, because I'm always talking about, when you're fading, you're going against the grain. So it's really important when you're doing a fade like this to darken hair on top, that you're going in the right direction, because you want that blend to be blended when the fade meets the crown of the head and to the top of the head. So you can see the direction I'm going with these clippers, because the hair is growing in the opposite direction. So now I have to fade this way. So this is important when you're fading. When I first started fading, it was hard for me to catch the back good, because I just continued to go straight up and I wasn't getting the blend that I want. But Now that I understand that I have to go against the grain, it's just simply just redirecting my clippers and still doing the same method. So consider that when you're in the back of the head. Remember that when you're fading, you're going against the grain. So you want to comb in the direction that the hair grows, and then you're going to fade in the opposite direction. So here we are at the lineup. Man, if you're still listening to me right now ramble, I really appreciate that. Make sure you like or consider liking and subscribing, as well as hit the notification bell and leave a comment if I haven't explained anything to your liking. Here at the lineup, I usually start from the middle or from one side and then work my way to the middle and then work the other side. And the way I pick my sides, I usually try to go to the side that's not as full, so I can get that side crisp, and then the fuller side, it'll be easier for me to line that side up because they have so much hair there to play with. One thing with your linings, you want to try to get it as straight as possible, and it's hard to do that just with your eyes because your eyes be playing tricks on you, like for real. So one thing you want to do is use your mirror, and not a handheld mirror. I really like to use the mirror on the wall like I just did. You saw me turn them to the mirror, and I'm able to see if it's going straight across. And you really want to be picky with this because as I learned and got better at my lineups, my thing was one side would be pretty straight, and then the other side would have this little like crookedness or whatever. And the line looked cool, but it never really looked like flawless. And I always wondered what was going on with me, but it's just the way I naturally move the clipper. When I'm going in the direction I'm going in, I would just go up or down in some sections. So I started to notice that, and I started to adjust it. But I couldn't do that without the mirror because the mirror pointed that out to me. But man, this really is pretty much the end of this haircut. If you like this haircut, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. Leave a comment, like I said, if you have any questions or concerns about what I'm doing. But here is the finished look. I hope you like it. This is TK with Cuts by Kelly, and I appreciate you.